Good afternoon, Gogi. I am so full of Gogi gratitude. My Gogi tube is gratitude. Today, I am extremely happy and extremely proud to be a part of Gogi. So my Gogi journey began November of 2017. I was transferred from Jamestown to VSP in November of 2017. I was moved to B Yard, so they put me in B3. And in B3, I went to the classroom. And in the classroom, I found this How to Gogi book. And I'm going through the book, and I'm kind of looking at it. And I had a friend, he was a lifer. In fact, he was part of Gogi. His name was Rudy. And Rudy kind of told me, he said, man, you know what, man? You can do Gogi in sale. I said, in sale. So he gave me the slip, and I began my journey of Gogi. 18 pages of writing. I read the book, and I became familiar with some of the tubes. And I was looking at some of the tubes, and they had like funny names like belly breathing, 5-second light switch, positive thoughts, words, and action. So I'm looking at some of these tubes. I was kind of familiar with them from other friends who had been in other prisons with me. But when I began to learn about the tools actually began to change my thinking. These tools are CBT based, cognitive behavior therapy. I was kind of familiar with CBT because I was a part of the SUDT SAP program in Jamestown. I was a peer mentor in that program. So I was kind of familiar with CBT. CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Cognition is simply a thought, the B, behavior, the way that I act, the way that I do things, and the T, therapy. So my thinking and the way that I behave simply needed healing. It needed healing. And when I was introduced to Gogi, the first tool that just really grabbed me was Boss of My Brain. Boss of My Brain really challenged me to look at the way that I was thinking. I was always a person that acted off impulse and emotions. My life crime happened because I was using the emotional part of my brain. My life crime happened because I was very vindictive and very, very impulsive. But Boss of My Brain taught me to use the prefrontal cortex, the smart part of my brain. And when I began to use the smart part of my brain, the way that I behaved, the anger, the violence, the aggression, all those things began to slowly go away because I was using my brain. I was using my mind. Then belly breathing. I heard about belly breathing. Belly breathing, man, what is this? So I found myself in some angry situations, and I would practice that. Put my hand on my chest, and I would put my hand on my belly, and I'll see which one was moving. And if my chest was doing a lot of the movement, I wasn't breathing correctly. I wasn't getting oxygen to my brain. When you get more oxygen to your brain, you're able to make better decisions. And when I began to use that tool, I began to make very good decisions. And I found myself in a lot of situations where I was able to stop, think, use the smart part of my brain because I was getting oxygen to it. And then I was introduced to tools of choice. I found out that I had a choice in some of the things that I would do. Some of the behaviors that I had, I actually had a choice, and I always had a choice. Even when I was out there using drugs and gang banging, I was out there caught up in my muck and mire, I still had a choice. At the age of 16, when I began my substance abuse, when I became heavily addicted to crack cocaine and I began to drink a lot of alcohol and I began to do all of these criminal things, I then still had a choice. I remember going to the board of like 3 hearings ago, and they would ask me, well, why did you begin to use drugs? Why did you commit the life crime? Well, I was impulsive. Well, yeah, that's true, but also I was impulsive, but I also had a choice. I could have said no, I could have simply walked away, I could have reached out for help, and then I didn't reach out for help. But coming into the Gogi, I've learned to reach out for help. So the tools of choice, positive thoughts, positive words, and positive actions made me question my thinking. And I began to ask myself, well, is this powerful? Is this productive? Is this positive? Hey, you know what? The way that I used to think, the first thought that came to my mind, I would react to it. You heard the old saying, get off what you get mad at. I took that to heart. I really took that to heart. And I would just act very, very recklessly and very, very impulsively. So during the time I've been in prison, I will continue those behaviors well into my 30s, well into my 40s, And I was still, okay, well, this dude disrespecting me. Okay, get off. Okay, this dude won't get off the phone. Okay, hang up on me. And I began to do those things, and those things kept me in prison, kept me going to the board, and kept me getting denied. So I had to figure something out. I said, man, look, I got to make some different choices. I need to make some different decisions. I need help. And that help came in the form for me, GOGI. I wanted to get out of prison. Okay, everybody wants to get out of prison, but a lot of people don't want to change those behaviors. They don't want to change that addiction. They don't want to change them behaviors. They don't want to go to programs. They don't want to work on themselves. They don't want to internalize some of these coping skills that we have available to us here. I just want to get out of prison. Well, for what? To come back? To reoffend? To do it again? Look, man, I made the decision. I said, look, when I get out of prison, I am never coming back again. I'm never going to come back again. So I began to really work on myself. I began to really take hold of some of these tools, and I began to really say, man, look, I know, man, look, other people have done it. I know that I can do it. I know that I can do it. So I began to work on a lot of my thinking. The tool of moving forward, claim responsibility, was very key for me, because when I began to take responsibility for my actions and my behavior, I had to accept the way that I used to think. Man, look, I never took responsibility. I remember I minimized for so many years my life crime. Well, if I wasn't raised in the hood, or if I didn't drink, or, if this didn't happen, or that didn't happen, or if my family didn't move to this neighborhood, and I always minimized. But when I began to take responsibility, I had to ask myself, am I proud of this choice? Am I proud of this choice? And I had to know that, I had to realize that I'm responsible for all of my actions and all of my reactions today. For a lot of young people, you really have an opportunity coming here to VSP. Here at VSP, they have programs that you can go to, and you have mentors that's willing to walk you through the process of getting out of prison. I was 18 years old when I committed my life crime. I was 19 years old when they convicted me to 25 years to life. That was October 31st, 1986. Happened to be on my mother's birthday. Her son was going to prison for 25 years to life. I ended up in Old Folsom State Prison. Very violent, very aggressive, a very rogue environment. That's the very first prison that I went to. And I didn't have nobody come along, and say, hey, Darryl, we want you to go to GOGI. Hey, come check out GOGI. No, they said, here, man, here's a knife. This is how it's going down. This is how this is going down. And I took that. Okay, well, here, this is how you make pruno. Here, this is how you get off on this race and that race. This, stay with us. We'll keep you safe. And I, like an idiot, I fell into that. I went to the hole. I continued to fight. I continued to do things that kept me in prison. My first board hearing was in 2003, and I was denied for 3 years. You would think, well, okay, you would start getting it together after all those years in prison. No, but I didn't. I continued that same pattern of behavior. I wanted people to accept me. I had acceptance issues, and in prison, I still wanted to be that man around those guys at that table, hanging out right there. I never will forget, man, my wake-up call really happened, I would say, in 2014, after I had been denied parole for like 5 or 6 times. So in 2014, I committed GBI against another inmate for perceived disrespect. He said this, I did that, I'm back in the hole. At the age of like 47. Here I am like 47 years old, still resorting to bad behavior. So I went to the hole, I was like, man, look, I'm gonna die in here. Something got to give. So I went SNY. I said, man, look, I'm going SNY, and when I go SNY, I'm making changes in my life. Look, I'm gonna disassociate totally from the gangs. Gangbanging no longer has any, I hate the day that I heard about that gang. I hate that day. And when I went SNY, I went right into the SAP program. I dusted myself off, I got back up, and I started programming. I started programming. I got transferred here. I started programming. I went right into SAT. I took GOGI, and things began to change in my life. My previous hearing, June 21st, 2017, Commissioner Peck, I had everything together. I had it all lined up. You know, I had this plan, and I had these parole plans, and he said, Mr. Alexander, you have great insight. You know, you're very credible, but however, your history of violence, man, you haven't even addressed this. You haven't even begun to even scrape the surface of what's making you violent. Why are you so violent, and why are you so aggressive? And going in, I had to go in and really look at some of those things that was really, you know, keeping me in that same pattern of behavior. I thank God for GOGI, because I got in and now I'm getting out. I went to the board November the 8th, and I was given my first grant of suitability. After 7 board hearings, and 33 years later, I finally got it. I finally got it. And I'll let you know, when you go into those hearings, if you're taking GOGI, if you're taking whatever, NA, Sharp, CGA, whatever group you're taking, it's good to go in there with a bunch of chronos. Yeah, fine, go in there with a bunch of chronos, but you better know your stuff. And I remember, the commissioner, he leaned forward and he said, GOGI, tell me about GOGI. I was like, man, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. So as soon as, I began to tell him about the twos and boss of my brain and belly breathing and claim responsibility, man, he had to shut me up. Yeah, he had to, okay, all right, we're gonna move on. So, but this group, this way of life, internalizing GOGI, is getting me out. So I wanna encourage you to take these groups and take this group, take all of the groups you have, take it very seriously. GOGI literally changed my life. And today, I am GOGI grateful, and I am certainly GOGI for life. Thank you.